My name is Sarah Beth Coffey. I'm the Partner Account Manager for BAASS. And we are really excited to bring you InsideView. So through our partnership, we are going to be delivering some really exciting new things for the customers in the Sage ecosystem. Before I get into a full demo, I'm going to be showing you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and why BAASS selected us to be the select partner that they are. So some of the problems that we solve are to help companies find better opportunities, connect with decision makers, help them reduce that research time, increase win rates, and improve data management. The three big pieces that we've identified over 15 years of being in business is that data matters. Right now during the pandemic, we are noticing that things are shifting very quickly. There are more companies that are laying people off or furloughing. It's hard for sales and marketing people to find the right people when they're trying to sell to. And so what InsideView does through a wonderful aggregation method of multi-sourced data points is we're figuring out the industry information, giving you the real-time insights, and then showing you how you can leverage your relationships in order to get sales and marketing deals over the line. We do that, as I mentioned before, by being a multi-sourced aggregator. We're taking in data from over 40,000 different sources, and BAASS is bringing that to you through Sage CRM. We work with all different types of industries, you name it, business, real estate. We have a global database, over 90 million records, and more to come as the years go on. BAASS is bringing you this integration within Sage CRM to where you have the power of the largest database of relevant business decision makers, real-time news, and up-to-date and accurate industry information without ever having to leave CRM. One of the beautiful things that happens with that too is also giving you that power of being able to update your records, update the information. So often do we hear that you don't have enough time, sales reps need to put in the information, and it takes a lot that you could be going out and selling more software or more wherever you're selling. And so InsideView with BAASS is able to deliver that information directly into the CRM. So some of the four big takeaways that I want us to go over before we dive into the actual demo is going to be the power of InsideView in helping you create prospecting lists of contacts and companies without ever having to leave Sage. Updating CRM with just one click, you have eliminated the need for manual entry. Understanding what's going on with your prospects and knowing when to reach out to clients by having real-time news and insights triggers that are going to help you identify what's the right time and what's going on there. And then helping you prospect more effectively by leveraging your relationships and finding other ways that you might have a connection there. So the integration with Sage is going to be coming up very shortly. If you do have any questions, please contact your BAASS account manager. What I'm going to be showing you right now is InsideView standalone. So when you sign up with InsideView, if you're using the integration with Sage, you have access to that as well as the standalone, the web browser version that I'm in right now. So what I've done is I've pulled up an account record, and I just wanted to dive into some of the big pieces that we're covering here. One part being industry information, second one being contacts, so who you're reaching out to as a sales or marketing person, and the third piece being relevant insight on an account, on a company, what's going on there. So here we have the revenue figure, employee size, location, URL. Every single company is going to have what we call an InsideView ID. That's a unique identifier. And that's really helpful when you're talking about things like data management or exactly what the last presenter was talking about, making sure that you don't have duplicate accounts within CRM. We know that can be a big problem. And so by associating a unique ID to every contact and every company, you're able to see that stare and compare I showed you before and be able to understand, hey, maybe that's something I already currently have in Sage. I don't need to add it again. And so we have the sources listed down here. As a multi-source aggregator, we don't put anything in our database that has not already been validated by at least 3 sources. The reason for that being is data changes very quickly, and we don't want to rely on one thing. We want to be able to compare and contrast that with different sources of truth. In the middle, you can see here the overview of the contacts. And so what we do is we also hone in on some of the decision maker contacts at a specific company. So that would be, anyone that has buying power or authority. We notice that when we're listening to our partners and our customers, the most important thing is getting in touch with the right person. They can spend hours on the phone and cold calling and dialing, but had they had that actual title that's relevant, it would have made all the difference. So that's what InsideView does, is we put the right people at your fingertips that you can sync to Sage automatically through BAASS. The final piece is insights, which we call any type of news article that's going to be relevant, giving you an idea of what's happening at that company or that account. So diving into it a little bit further, when I scroll through, I can see the industry information. I have a good understanding of what the company does, the SIC code, the NAICS codes. This can be often used for companies when maybe they're trying to create lists of companies that fit into a certain category by SIC code or NAICS codes, or maybe they're just trying to target specific verticals or industries. Having this information, these classification codes, is extraordinarily helpful. One thing that's very useful too for specifically newer reps, maybe if you don't know the account very well, you want a little bit of an overview. What do they do? What are some of the challenges that they face? What are the trends that these companies tend to go through? If I'm someone very new to sales, I might want to be able to weave in some questions that will make me seem a little bit more informed of what's going on at that company. So we have a call prep section where you can weave these into some of your qualification calls. And finally, the size and structure of the business. Also very useful if you're trying to figure out, is this a prospect for me worthwhile? Is this someone I should really be going after or engaging with? That's always very useful as well. So you scroll down, for larger companies, we'll have a lot of financial data. For smaller companies, we're still going to have a robust amount of information. But what we are doing is we're gathering the data from publicly available sources. We are a GDPR compliant company. We work with some of the biggest names out there. And so we want to make sure that the data that we're serving up for our partners and our customers is gathered in an ethical and compliant way. So scrolling through, you can also see what's very helpful, specifically when you're doing things like territory assignments or trying to figure out, do I hire another sales rep here? How big is this territory? How do I assign new reps to different places? InsideView has a very robust database on family tree information. Family trees are what we would classify as the corporate hierarchies of a company. So who are the subsidiaries? Who have they acquired? All of this is very helpful, especially if you're managing accounts that might have had some type of change in leadership, or maybe you're trying to figure out, do I want to land and expand with other companies in the family tree list? You have the ability to be able to filter through on the left-hand side, and we want to make it as intuitive as possible, as easy to use as possible. So filtering by company location, employee count, and revenue are all very helpful, especially if you have companies with much bigger family trees. And as a salesperson myself, I know the importance of replicating a message or being able to really solidify exactly what my value prop is for a specific industry. And so we're also showing you similar companies. That can be particularly helpful if I know that something's worked with one company. I can replicate that with other ones that are similar to it. I can also see who their competitors are. I can see who my own competitors are. The importance of this is being able to get a full scope, a full view of what's going on at a specific account, and be able to go into every single conversation like an expert. Again, at the bottom, we're showing you all of the different sources that we're using to gather this information. We have a lot of information on our accuracy, on our data aggregation and methods that you can go through and peruse on our website, or also ask your account manager at BAASS about. The final piece is understanding the tech stack of a specific company. What are they using? If this is helpful, this can be something that companies will jump after if they want to reach out and say, hey, I know you're using certain products. Maybe ours would be complementary to what you're currently using. When I get into the People tab, it's going to be showing me a list of individuals at the company. And again, we're focused on the top tier. We're focused on people that are in leadership roles or in manager level and above positions. We will have some lower level individuals, but because this is used to be something to hone in sales and marketing and really help you get in touch with the right people, it's better to have just the ones that are going to be able to make those buying decisions. And so as you can see here, we're following around 760 people at Bizarre Voice. Current employees there is around 760 we have. We also show you individuals throughout the family tree. If you'd like to reach out to some of those individuals and say, hey, listen, I'm working with Bazaar Voice. I'm trying to get into this other company, Correlate, and I would love to talk a little bit about how we might be able to work together. We work with, your parent company. And then a very helpful piece, particularly for salespeople that are, very relationship oriented, or that, tend to create long-lasting relationships with their customers and clients. I know I'm this way. Former employees, you can track who the people that used to work there are and end up following your champion. This is really helpful if you can say, hey, listen, I know that, you bought from me a couple of years ago, and you know that I'll never lead you in the wrong way. Would you be interested in looking at this in your new company? That can also be very helpful. But again, 760, if I'm just looking at the current employees, is quite a lot. So InsideView gives you the ability to filter these individuals by job function, job level, contact location. I can even filter by contact info. So if I only want people that have a direct dial, I can get those. If I want people that only have an email, I can get those. Most of them will have both of them. And I can go through and create a very targeted list of people that I'd like to call on this one account. So rather than just dialing whomever I can, if I know that sales tends to be the person that buys from me, I might want to just have a list of salespeople. And I can filter through all of these and say, hey, as it's going down, I can figure out what's going to be the best type of list for me. The final piece here on the People tab is going to be what we call connections. And so connections are taking what you might see with LinkedIn a couple of steps further. What InsideView does is we put together all of the information that we have in our whole database. And when you sign up, you have the opportunity to be able to upload your contacts. It could be Outlook contacts, Gmail contacts, LinkedIn connections. We don't take any of that data. We don't put it in our system. We don't touch it. All we do is we show you ways that you might have relationships outside of what you might see as a first-degree connection on LinkedIn alone. And I can show you exactly what that looks like. So at Bazaar Voice, I can see down in the connections that I don't know anybody, not a single soul there. But if I scroll down a little bit further, I can see people that my coworkers know. Well, that creates a little bit of a larger list. Now there's 5 people that my coworkers know. And I can go through and say, senior sales operation analyst, that's actually a title that I do tend to sell to. That would be a good person for me to get in contact with. How do I have a relationship there? I can click here on this connections box, and it will open up the graph that Charlie Gore, who's also working at our company, has a personal Gmail connection to Eric. I can very easily ask Charlie for a referral. We all know that we tend to respond to people that we are already in contact with or we already know much more likely than we would from someone just randomly calling us. And so that can be a great way to break into some of these accounts that you might not have been able to get into before, by leveraging these relationships, understanding how you have these connections, and moving through that. And of course, you can upload as much as you'd like. We have the opportunity to go through your previous employers. Reference customers can always be very helpful as well. Alumni, for people that went to a school that is very spirited, they might want to upload their alumni and just start every single email with hook 'em horns or something like that. The final piece that InsideView is providing to enable your sales motions is going to be what we call insights. Insights are any type of relevant news or information that we have gathered, usually in the last 90 days, related to that company. This can be particularly helpful if I'm trying to break into a company, first off, and I want to be able to reach out with a very targeted message. It's very easy to ignore an outbound email or an outbound phone call if they don't know anything about your business. But if I can call and say, hey, Brett Hurt, I know you're the CEO and co-founder of Data World. I saw an article about you in such and such catalog. I was hoping that we could talk a little bit more about why this would be relevant to the Upsplash Data Drives the World article that you wrote. That is so much more enticing than me reaching out without any information below. And that's just one example of some of the ways that you can use and leverage this data to drive more revenue. I'm likely to get more sales if I have the information to get to the right people quicker with the right message. And so we have a couple of standard agents, but you can also add in your own custom agents. So something we've done before for some of our partners or customers has been, if they are selling soft drinks in Cincinnati, we might say, look at all of the companies in Cincinnati, and if there's anything that pops up in the news related to these companies with the word soft drink, send me an email. And that can already give you some intent if you didn't have any before, some type of indication that might be a good prospect for you, that might be someone that might want to buy from you. And you could do that similarly with marketing emails as well. And so when I'm going through the company information, the people tabs, this is just one in-depth look at a company. But if I want to create a list of a couple of companies, I also have the ability to build a list. And again, this is in the standalone version. The integration with Sage will look a little bit different, but you have access to both once again. And so what I have here is access to the world's largest and most accurate database, where I can create a list of companies and a list of people. I can filter through the entire database to get the right companies and the right people that I need as a salesperson. And that's extraordinarily powerful. I can go through and say, I'm only looking for, companies in a certain zip code. Only show me companies with 25 employees to 100 employees in California. Or I could filter it by revenue. Again, the industry information comes in very helpful if I'm trying to go through a certain vertical that I've been assigned and I know their SIC code and NAICS code. I can get every single company with that SIC code or NAICS codes in the specific geographic region that I want. And I can have those all synced to Sage and start reaching out to them in the same day. I don't have to go through and manually update it or put in all of this information or type in every single contact's name. It all syncs automatically. And of course, there's also the opportunity to filter by business type and then finally by insights. So what I mentioned before, the news, if you're trying to figure out companies that are just doing, something like partnerships, which is what I work in, I might want to only look at companies doing partnerships in, South Dakota as an example. And that way I can get a really targeted list. And finally, by connections, maybe only show me people that I know, so that I can reach out to the ones I know and let them know that I'm doing a campaign or some type of webinar. That works for companies, and you can also create lists of people. And so this is meant to be able to help salespeople get really targeted company and contact lists so that you never run out of leads or prospects. And you have the most up-to-date information possible, and then it all syncs to Sage when you're using it through BAASS. And I believe I have covered it all. Are there any questions here so far?
I do have 2 questions so far. So the first question is, where do you get your data?
Yeah, fantastic question. So since we're pulling from those 40,000 sources, I showed a little bit of a screenshot up here. It comes down to 3 different buckets. One being data partnerships. So we partner with reputable companies like Thomson Reuters, CapIQ, Equifax, and we supplement that with our artificial intelligence tool that's going through scanning the web, the World Wide Web, for millions and millions of different websites every single week and finding those keywords that might indicate a change. So an example we've given before is a company leadership change. Maybe that was only present on the company website, but none of the other data providers had updated that, and the LinkedIn of that person had not been updated. So by having so many different methods that are all serving as checks and balances, validating the information before we put it in, that's one of the ways that we're able to come up with very accurate data. The final piece is a content team. So those are real human beings that are going through and verifying information. And all 3 of those work simultaneously to be bringing in and validating information in real time. So it's happening continuously. Thank you for the question. Are there any others?
So the other question I have here is, how often is the data refreshed?
Yeah, great question. So again, it's happening continuously. Since we are pulling in from all of those 40,000 sources, Our AI tool is just getting more and more sophisticated and intelligent every single day as it recognizes more patterns. And then, we continue getting those files from our data partners, and our content team goes through, and updates things, every single day. So our data is continuously being refreshed because we have so many different sources. Thank you for the question. Any others?
It does look like those are all the questions that we have for this session. So I'd just like to thank you, Sarah, for presenting today.
Yeah, thank you. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to contact your account manager for more details or email Zainab.